Hello, I'm Bill Coleman. Welcome to a special issue of This is Worcester. Today, we're going to talk with two members of advisory commissions that serve for the city of Worcester. And they advise the city manager, they advise the city government on issues that are important to us. One is the advisory commission on the status of women in the city of Worcester, and then one is the Human Rights Commission. So we're going to start with ladies first. So please, introduce yourself, tell us what you're all about, where you grew up, raised, the whole bit, how you got on the commission, and what you guys are working on right now.
Okay, great. My name is Debbie Hall, and I'm actually a transplant. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, and I moved here about 6 years ago. So I grew up, and I'm so appreciative of hearing Dr. Carter talk about her experiences. When I moved here, one of the first things I looked for was a black community, or a way I could connect, or cultural events and what happened here in Worcester. When I moved to the New England area, all the things I'd ever read about in undergrad, because part of my major was African American Studies, was Frederick Douglass and the African meeting houses and the colored burial grounds in Nantucket, and so I was able to explore some of that. But I would always come back to Worcester, and I'm like, what did African Americans do in Worcester, and where's that history? So that led me to kind of talk to a couple of people who had been doing things, Professor Doughton at Holy Cross, and just talk about an initiative to kind of get all of these stories told and to learn more about the history of African Americans in Worcester. So this is an honor. You are living history. And so I kind of founded the Worcester Black History Project, and part of its mission is to preserve the history of African Americans in Worcester, because like you, I'm so happy you have something in print, but a lot of people don't. And then folks die, and papers are thrown away, and histories aren't told, and history is just ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and you definitely have done lots of extraordinary things, so I appreciate being, and I'm honored to be on the panel with you. The other thing I thought, I'm living in Worcester, and I need to get involved in some way, and so I started talking to people, looking around and thinking about ways I could be, since I was living in this community, how I could be helpful and contribute. And one of the first places I went was to City Hall. I just looked up, how can I get involved in government in that arena, or helping being a better citizen. And I looked at some commissions and committees, and applied to be on the advisory committee on the status of women, which serves as, just as it says, an advisory committee to the city executive, and we are the city manager, and we kind of talk about issues that we think are important to women, or that women tell us are important to them. So right now we're going to have our annual Women of Consequence Awards coming up March the 7th, and we will honor both a woman and a young woman who either lives, works, or volunteers in Worcester, who has made some tremendous contribution. Some of the things we're looking at is mental health, housing, domestic violence. So we kind of look at our strategic plan every couple of years and see what the women in Worcester prioritize as needs that they want to see addressed. So that has been a great experience. I enjoy my time there. We're always looking for people who are interested in contributing to Worcester and making it a great city to join that committee.
Okay, and Aaron, just share with us your involvement in the city of Worcester.
Sure. Thank you for having me, first of all. And I am really honored to be here and hear some just incredible stories and a history that I wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to know. And I serve on the Human Rights Commission. I've been a member of the commission for 4 years. I've been honored to be the chairperson of the commission for the last 3 years. Long before that, though, I was born in my favorite city in the world, in Miami, Florida. It's just like up here.
Yeah.
But And then the Army, which I had ultimately spent 12 years in, brought me to New England in July of 1991. We used to have an active Army base up at Fort Devens, so I was pretty unexcited to be sent up here to the Army's Cold Weather Special Forces Group. But I survived, as you can see. And I have lived in Worcester now for almost 17 years. My 3 children were born here. My wife works next door to the building that we're in right now. And it really has become my home. While Miami will always be kind of where my heart is, I really do love Worcester. And there's so many needs. And so what I decided, actually maybe 10 years ago, I felt like I wanted to, as you were explaining, I wanted to get involved somehow, but I really didn't have a history of civic engagement, and I didn't really know what to do. I just knew that I felt as if I should get involved somehow. And after toying with the idea, reading on the city's websites, the site about boards and commissions, I really spent a few years thinking I should probably look further into that, and then life just got in the way, and I didn't. Eventually I did. I found that there was one board that caught my eye, not being a history buff, certainly of any kind, especially not a Civil War history buff, but we have had a GAR Memorial Hall Board of Trustees. And I thought that sounded really interesting, even though it wasn't something that I was previously passionate about. So I did join that board, and I did think it was very interesting. But when I saw an opening for the Human Rights Commission, I thought that's an area where I may actually be able to make a greater difference. And that was what I was feeling inside. I felt like not exactly sure how to make a difference, but I want to. And then this opportunity presented itself, and I resigned from the first board, joined the Human Rights Commission, and that was 4 years ago. It's been an incredible learning experience for me. Again, I serve with, when we're full, and we're not, I'll talk about that in a moment, we have 9 members, and they're all, to a person, far more civically minded, far more engaged in their lives, really, in the community that we live in than I have historically been. So I really feel honored, and I feel like I get to learn so much from them as I kind of go on this journey with them. Some of the things that we have worked on and are working on, we look at all kinds of issues. They are issues that affect all of the communities within the city of Worcester, so it's a little more diverse or eclectic, I think might be a better word, in the issues that we try to tackle. We look at issues that affect LGBTQ community. We've instituted, this was now a couple of years ago, but we borrowed really from a city in Massachusetts, a transgender rights shelter survey. What we learned was that shelters aren't really prepared, but there are needs that people in every community have, and there was a lack of training, there was a lack of understanding, even the laws. And so we took that project on successfully. It was very exciting for me. It took a few years to really get it going, but we did manage eventually. And we feel like we were able to make a difference. If only for one person, then we're glad that we did that work. But hopefully there's even benefit to more than one person. So issues could range from those that I just described. We also look at police-community relationships. That's a very, very difficult issue to look at when we talk about police transparency, police accountability, even just attitudes of the community towards the police. And we're pro-everyone. We're not pro-police, pro-community. We really feel like with the right understanding, level of engagement, the right hearts behind the work, that a lot of progress can be made. So that's constantly an area that we're working together on. We do review the Bureau of Professional Standards results quarterly. We're looking to find better ways to utilize that information. We're almost done conducting a citywide collection of information, research regarding community neighborhood watch meetings, and there are many throughout the city. And some are very well attended, some are not, some are very well run, others could be run better. And we're looking to glean whatever data we can from all of that to try to help that process become more inclusive, more easy to find, more desirable to attend for our youth. So that's an area that we're working diligently on. And we have an event coming up that we're very excited about every couple of years. And Bill may choose to speak a little bit about her because I think he could more eloquently than I could. But Eleanor T. Hawley was a woman that ultimately became really an important figure in the human rights division in the city of Worcester, and just for human rights in the city of Worcester. And so we have an award named in her honor that we, every 2 years, solicit nominations from the community for. And we have a hard time picking a winner, but we do it every year. With one exception, we got stuck and we picked 2 winners because we just couldn't vote past that. But so we know that the folks in the community that are out there doing the work to make the community better, safer, everyone better represented, and we know that those people don't do it for recognition, and that's part of what's so special about them, but we still want to recognize them. And so we have an event February 23rd, it's Saturday morning, it's at the WCCA, and it's at 9:30 in the morning. There is a link or links floating around that you can respond to if you'd like to attend with us. There'll be a light breakfast. We have a theme as well as an awardee, and the theme is the UN has the International Labor Organization, and this year, that week, is World Day of Social Justice. And what it has to do with is workers on the move. That's the theme this year, and it's specifically around migrant workers and their rights and sometimes their plight even. So we are very fortunate. We have a vice consul from the country of Jamaica who she has the monumental task of overseeing the welfare, the well-being of almost a couple thousand migrant workers from Jamaica up and down the East Coast. She'll be speaking at our event as our keynote speaker, and I'm really excited about that. And then there's an incredible gentleman, I think it's public knowledge now, so I'll just say his name is Al Green, who we have chosen to honor with our award this year, who ironically happens to be from Jamaica as well. And so that's our event. Those are some of the things that we do. But we really, if you are interested, we need you. We always have an opening or 2 on the Human Rights Commission, and I think Bill may be looking to speak a little bit further about this, but nearly 100 openings throughout all the boards and commissions, almost always. So if you're thinking about doing something to help to make a difference, even a little bit, please consider that. Now,
there's a couple of things that I'd like to say. With regards to serving on boards and commissions for the city of Worcester, if you want to serve on a board or commission, you don't need any particular skills. You just need a willingness to serve. You must be a registered voter or a citizen of the United States living in Worcester. And that's just the way it's written in the charter. I guess it's the way it's written in the rules. But what you can do is you can contact the city manager's office and call them up at 508-799-1178, push number 2, and you'll get the city manager's office and say, I'd like to serve on a board or commission. It's basically a letter of intent with a resume, and sometimes a resume can be just basic. You can be retired, you can be young, you can be whatever, but it's a chance to serve on boards and commission. Now, your event on the 23rd, Saturday morning, the 23rd, at the YW. Oh yeah, of course, everything happens at the YW. At the YWCA, starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's a grand opportunity to be a part of this Eleanor T. Hawley Award ceremony, and Eleanor Holly was the director of human rights for the city of Worcester. And she got the job because she came to Worcester. I mean, she was living in Worcester. Her husband, she'd lived here for a while. Her husband was a Second World War vet, came here through Fort Devens. But what would happen is she couldn't get a job at Denholm's, which was a major department store in Worcester. She couldn't get a job with the city of Worcester other than basic stuff. And she fought hard, and city manager Frances McGrath, who was there at the time, she appealed, and she got a job. And she worked her way through college, getting her degree at the University of Massachusetts through a program called the University of Massachusetts Without Walls. But this outstanding, powerful woman who went through a lot in the city of Worcester was able to help steer human rights in Worcester during the 70s, during the 80s. And, she retired in the last four years ago, it's about 3 years ago now, she passed away. But a loving, caring woman. She had 2 children, and I went to school with her son, Bill Holly, Jr., at Worcester State, and a great family, committed family, and they did well. But to apply for a position in the city of Worcester to serve on a board or commission, I could say to people who are digital, look at the website. Go to the website for boards and commissions. They're trying to fill advisory positions. It's so sad that, and I don't want to, dismiss anybody who is serving on the library board of directors, but 2 people just got reappointed to the library board of directors for 2 additional 6-year terms because they couldn't find anybody to apply for those open seats. And that's an incredible opportunity to serve the city of Worcester, to meet with like-minded people who want to be involved in their city at some capacity and to contribute to the city. And, and so on the advisory committee for the status of women, can you talk a little bit about your event that's upcoming and invite people to join your board?
Sure. So as I said, it was biannually, but now annually we've decided to reward a woman of consequence and a young woman of consequence who are doing amazing things in the community. And as Aaron alluded to, there's so many people doing so many amazing things. So it's always hard to pick someone. But definitely we want to recognize particularly underserved populations and vulnerable populations like women, like people of color, who are doing really wonderful things in the city. Right now, we have an opening. I think we just filled 1 position, so we have a vacancy for anyone living in District 1, or District 2, I'm sorry. So these committees and commissions, the great thing is when you go online, you can go online if you're digital and find out which district has openings, and some of them have at large or any district available to be filled. But it's a wonderful way of making your voice heard. And we know in the last couple of years, particularly for women, and we saw it in the 2018 midterms, just the number of people who have felt energized and emboldened to kind of run for things and work on committees and commissions they would have never thought of before. Committees and commissions are really easy ways of getting involved in your local government. You don't have to collect signatures, you don't have to be voted in. Well, you kind of have to be voted in, but you don't have to get a number of votes. It's pretty simple. You just have the heart and desire to make a difference and to serve your community. So we meet on a monthly basis, and it's normally the first Tuesday of every month, so it's not terribly time consuming. But we do a lot of great work, and I would encourage anyone interested, particularly people of color, as the demographics in Worcester has changed, to get involved. Your communities, the Latinx community, and definitely African American communities, it's another way of getting involved. We also have an initiative for a campaign managing training for people of color specifically, because I do want to talk, and we're Black History Month, we're talking about the month of February. How can we become more involved in our local politics so that they truly reflect like the people in the city? And so that has grown out of seeing folks. We were talking about representation on city council, and I'm kind of going to some other things, but this is really how you can get involved in local government, and we're really nice on most of these boards. The more diversity, the better. The more voices, the better. So I encourage people, if you want to know more about it, you can reach out to City Hall via, and it's a very easy process, electronically, or talk to someone who serves on a board to get more information.
And the one thing that I want to go over again while we're here is, and I want to start with you, Dr. Carter, is if you can share your event and then share your event and then share your event. Just give the nuts and bolts of the event that's going to happen. And Dr. Carter, your event's happening on the 21st at the Senior Center.
I know it's a Thursday, and I know it's not this coming Thursday,
The 21st.
and I know there's a snow day, and I'm not part of the program committee, so.
Oh, okay. So I'll share that. It's
Yeah.
February the 21st at the Worcester Senior Center, and it's in the morning, so I think it's about 10 o'clock, that they're going to honor Shirley Barrow Carter, along with your sister Audrey. And Audrey's last name?
Brown,
Barrow
Audrey.
Brown.
yeah.
And we're going to honor them at the Senior Center. It's a great opportunity. And again, for your event,
My event, one of the events is for the Women of Consequence. That award ceremony is on a Thursday. It's March the 7th, and it's 5:30 to 7 p.m., and that takes place at City Hall on the 3rd floor. The Worcester Black History Project has a couple of events coming up. One tomorrow, there will be a proclamation read at City Hall at 6:30, so if people want to join us for that, that would be great. On February 23rd, we're going to have our monthly meeting at the Worcester Historical Museum, and that's from 10 to 11:30. And then from 11:30 until 2 o'clock, we have a Discovery Day. And that's an opportunity for people in the community, African Americans in the community, to bring in any pictures, any letters, any documents they have that they want to preserve. And we can scan those things on site and give you back your originals, but then the Worcester Historical Museum serves as a repository for anything that's collected, which then can preserve a lot of very important information. So I invite you to all of those.
now for the Black History Project, is there a website or is there?
There is not a website. There is a public invite, and so we're working, this is something that's fairly new, just about a year old, so we're working on all of that now, but for sure it's posted publicly, so and through the Worcester Historical Museum. So if you're interested, you can call the Worcester Historical Museum, and they can give you meeting dates.
Okay, and your event, Aaron.
Sure. So our event, the Human Rights Commission event, actually before I mention the specifics again, I thought it was a great idea to point out that our commission meets the first Monday of the month, barring extenuating circumstances or holidays sometimes, but otherwise it's in the same chamber that the City Council meets usually, although when the weather gets nice, I want to do again what we did a few years ago, which is meet in the community. So we would have our meetings, and we've met in places like Maine South CDC, the Southeast Asian Coalition, Veterans Inc. I'd like to do that again and kind of take it out on the road where we maybe can connect a little bit more with some of you and hear what's on your minds as well. So, but the first Monday of every month, 6 o'clock at City Hall on the 3rd floor in the City Council chamber. So our event is coming up Saturday morning, February 23rd. It is at 9:30 a.m. and it's a combination of giving our Eleanor T. Hawley Award for human rights work in the community, which is awarded to Al Green this year, who is nominated and does a lot of great work, which if you want to hear more about it, come and join us. And so, but we also are combining that with the theme of Workers on the Move, International Day of Social Justice, which is just a few days before that on the 20th. And that is to bring awareness to the huge number of migrant workers around the world, even here in New England. And we'll have a migrant worker attorney come and introduce our guest speaker, our keynote speaker, who is from Jamaica, who is a vice consul from Jamaica and has responsibility for overseeing Jamaican migrant workers on the East Coast as part of a program that's existed since World War II, actually. It's a very old program. So February 23rd, 9:30 in the morning, and we're going to feed you. So Cafe Reyes will be supplying the light breakfast, so if you're available, you wouldn't want to miss that.
And that's always, it's Cafe Reyes is always a good deal. But what I'd like to do is to just touch base with Dr. Carter again, because in part one of this program, we talked about her life in Worcester and how we celebrate her life and the accomplishments that she has had. I mean, you know, breaking down the glass ceiling and the glass doors at Worcester City Hospital, with her and her sister becoming the first two women of color to attend that School of Nursing, living around the country and having family in Texas and traveling all over. And still, you know, Worcester is a large part of her home, a large part of her experience that she shares with us. And just, you know, we've got a couple of minutes left, but I just wanted to say, you know, what would you say to upcoming people who come to Worcester and they have that initial shock of welcome to Worcester?
Wow. What would I say? Some of the things I say about Worcester is like an overgrown town. It's really convenient, the heart of the Commonwealth. You know, 1 hour to Hartford and 1 hour to Boston and 1 hour to Providence. I really couldn't wait to get the Sam Hill out of Worcester as a young person, because the opportunities were so limited and racism of the time was just so overt. But coming back, I lived in Washington, D.C. for a while. I lived in Portland, Maine, Yarmouth, Maine. I came back temporarily. Let's see, this is my youngest daughter's birthday. I came back temporarily 59 years ago. It's not bad the second time around. I raised my children where I grew up, ended up in the same neighborhood where I grew up, and it's a happening place. I don't think my daughters would recognize it now because they live out of state, but it's a great place to grow up.
Well, I want to thank my guests for being a part of This is Worcester in this very special episode. And you'll be able to go on the WCCA TV website and to copy this program and send it to people all over the world. So thank you again for the special production of This is Worcester during the month of February. I'm Bill Coleman, and I will see you again on This is Worcester.